I always explain that Europe is sleeping, and here they are awake and working 24/7. The coming 5 to 10 years, it's happening here and not in Europe.
Right, so today we're going to discuss expanding your business to another city and how it's a major step in taking you from startup to scale up. So we're going to be discussing, setting up business in Singapore, what entrepreneurs should know about before they take the leap, and why Singapore-based investors have an eye on international startups coming to these shores. So to kick off the discussion, first I want to get a little bit of background on UNL. So what is it? How long has it been in operation, and when did it actually expand to Singapore?
Okay, a lot of questions. And thank you for having us here today. Background on UNL, as you already shared, we're building a smart addressing system. So a digital universal global addressing and naming system to power location-based services and applications, specifically for last mile, optimizing supply chain, smart city, and lots more. And the reason that we came to Asia was through one of our initial first investors that has a focus in Asia and saw a huge potential for our technology here, as there is a lack of addressing and digital infrastructure. And on the other side, the delivery e-commerce is booming and growing very fast. So they pulled us to Asia. And and that brought me here. And UNL, we have been in stealth mode in the beginning. So 1.5 years doing sort of experiments and MVP and testing the waters. And since two years, we're officially a company. And we moved to Singapore last year, November, officially. And the reason is that SG Innovate, part of the Singapore government, invested next to Aditya. And part of the deal was that we moved the headquarters, including myself, to Singapore.
So beyond investment, what actually attracted you to Singapore as a destination for business?
It's the hub in Southeast Asia. And the agenda of the Singapore government is to be the front runner, the pioneer, the technical hub of Asia. And all the support that the government has been giving us made sense to establish our headquarters here. Okay,
and Elevate is one of UNL's investors. So how did you actually come across the company, and what attracted you to them?
So a lot of things. Firstly, thanks for having us on your show. So as a VC, Elevate, we invest only in very scalable deep tech companies. So that means companies which come up with an innovative technology or scientific breakthrough to really impact millions, if not billions of lives, and or change the way or create new industries. And we first met UNL at a pitch session, demo day, where we saw how they could really impact the lives of millions, or rather billions, of people. In this particular case, often under-addressed or unaddressed. We knew right then that these are the sorts of people we wanted to work with immediately, help partner, and help really grow to the next stage.
So beyond UNL and looking more broadly at the deep tech that you invest in, how much attention are you actually paying to foreign startups in that sector who are either looking to come to Singapore, or are you even incentivizing them to come set up shop here just based on the ease of setup and what you were mentioning earlier about the amount of government support that is available for them?
Yes, so that's a good question. I think as an investor, we are always looking at the best and brightest deep tech startups. There are some very clear programs that the Singapore government runs, which include funding, which include industry bodies. To your point about Singapore being very welcoming, it's a very regulatory friendly country as well, which means it's easy not just to set up companies, but if you're a technology company, they create regulatory bubbles. So whether it's autonomous vehicles or blockchain, both of which are hopefully areas that we will get into in the future, Singapore creates these bubbles where you can go out and actually develop. So I think it's a very attractive place to either move to or to set up your business from scratch.
And is it fairly straightforward as a local investor to put funding into foreign startups coming in?
Yes and no. So the reason I'm a bit hesitant to answer that is because we evaluate every company on its own merits. If you're coming in as a foreign company, we need to believe that you're better than anyone else here. So your technology needs to be world-class, and your ability to sell into the region should not be impeded either.
Okay, so understanding that Singapore is essentially looking to build itself as a hub for a lot of this kind of technology, practically speaking, as a company that's entering the market, as a startup or a scale-up, what are some of the actual challenges, the friction points that still exist regardless of how smooth we can make it, that you experience that you think, you know, other entrepreneurs should be wary of?
They need to be bought into the concept of being here and committed. I don't think I could have pulled it off if I wasn't personally on this side of the planet. And you need to be very knowledgeable. So before you start that journey, you need to research and you need to understand. And Southeast Asia is not one market, it's many with their local challenges. So it's not Singapore solves that for you. It's something that you need to be aware of, that Indonesia is not Thailand and Thailand is not India.
So then personally, or for UNL, what was the biggest challenge?
Knowing what is happening here and how it's totally different. So your business model in Europe won't work here.
Right.
Or your operational structure won't work here in Asia. So it's that challenge of being informed and knowing what you're doing before you spend a lot of money.
Right. And then, so from the investor perspective, what do you think European startups need to be especially aware of when it comes to fundraising here?
Expanding a business is hard. Moving to different countries is tough. During COVID, it gets even tougher. As an investor, the only advice I would give you is, given everything else, move here if it makes business sense for your startup.
Right.
Otherwise, reconsider what makes the most sense, both for your startup and the particular time or life cycle in your startup.
How would you say Singapore fundraising compares to fundraising in Europe?
So it's easier to access investors because it's a small place, people know each other, so introductions and connecting is a little bit easier. Getting money is as difficult as raising funds in Europe. And I also see that, and it's not only Singapore, but Asia is struggling with the different stages. So you see most of the investors here in Singapore more focused on Series A plus than early stage seed.
We touched on COVID lightly earlier, but what would you say the broader investor appetite is currently, especially for foreign startups coming in?
Our appetite hasn't changed. The ease of access to foreign startups has become a bit more limited. We can't meet them in person. And if they're planning to move to Singapore, now there's a slightly bigger question mark. But I think we continue to be open to business and are very actively investing, or continue to invest actively even through COVID.
And finally, words of encouragement to hopefully encourage more Dutch startups or foreign startups to set up shop here based on, you know, this success story in front of us.
I think in general, if you look and compare Asia with Europe, I always explain that Europe is sleeping and here they are awake and working 24/7 and very ambitious in developing this whole region. So I think the opportunity and also the population is very young. The coming 5 to 10 years, it's happening here and not in Europe. So if you want to tap into this growth and potential, you should absolutely consider coming here.
There are a few big hubs around the world today. You've got the US, you've got China, but I think if you want to play globally, I think Singapore is a great testing ground. It's a great crucible. So I would encourage folks to come here over almost any other part of the world.